Welcome to the Essential Discourse Podcast Show, the show that confronts taboo and hot-button topics across the spectrum of our society with objectivity and without prejudice. Our goal is to facilitate a safe space for honest communication that not only identifies problems and their root causes, but also attempts to provide practical solutions. Thank you for joining us in this endeavor. And now, without further ado, here is your host, Bruce.
You are now listening to the Essential Discourse Podcast Show.
Welcome to the Essential Discourse Podcast. I am your host, Bruce, and this is episode 3. And this is the first time I have guests. I'm going to let the guests introduce themselves, starting with guest number 1. Go ahead and introduce yourself, sir.
My name is Braylon, and I am 24 years old, and I currently work as a project manager within the education industry.
Outstanding. Guest number 2, go ahead and introduce yourself, ma'am.
My name is Bree. I am 24 years old. I currently work as a medical assistant with pediatrics.
All right. Guest number 3, go ahead and introduce yourself, sir.
Hello, my name is Trey, aka Bruce Smith III. I am 20 years old and I currently work at Target as a sales associate, and that's it.
All right. And guest number 4, go ahead and introduce yourself, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Brittany Smith. I am the youngest, and I am a student at Early College High School /CTC, and I work at Bath & Body Works.
And how old are you, ma'am?
I am 18 years old.
18 years old. So every last one of you are adults, correct?
Correct.
Young adult.
Okay, young adults. And if you guys had listened to episode 2, we dealt with the topic of being a parent to an adult child. I thought it was a very good episode. However, I thought that it would be great to have a follow-up when we actually got to speak to some adult children and get their take on what was stated in that podcast. So without any further ado, let's get into it. I'm just interested to know what you guys' thoughts were on the episode number 2.
I felt attacked. I'm just kidding.
Same.
I felt attacked. It was a lot of truth in it. And there's nothing else there was nothing but truth in it. And it kind of had me reflect.
Yeah.
Even now being out of the house and being a young adult, and how even being married and still a young adult, you brought up how as adults, we still kind of depend on our parents. And it just, I don't know, it was a lot of things that were kind of eye openers. I was just wow, there are some areas where I still need to grow up in. And it was also an eye opener to realize how, even though we are adults, you guys are still parenting us. It's not like you turn 18 and our job is done. We're getting ready to be 20. Me and Braylon are getting ready to be 25 years old, yet we're still getting advice. We're still getting guidance and everything. So even though we're young adults, the parenting does not stop.
All right. Anyone else?
In the beginning, when you started it off, you were saying this was the hardest thing to do, going to war. I mean, it was harder than going to war and a whole bunch of other stuff. I'm not going to lie. I was over there I don't see how that's harder than going to war. There's people that are scared of dying. Me, I am. But then you started to explain it. And then, Bree said, you start to reflect on it and you're like, dang, that is a lot of truth in there. And I also looked at it and I was like, I'm pretty sure he's talking about me at this time. So it was more so okay, that's kind of hitting a little harder than expected. Because me, I could say living in the house, and for some things, I had a view of parents are just always mean. Their favorite word is no. I'm pretty sure a whole bunch of other people have thought about that too. Or in some of the stuff where you were talking about, I picture myself being like, well, I know if I ask this to a certain parent, then yeah, we'll probably get a different answer or something like that. And I can see why I was like that too. But now thinking about it, when you was just saying like, no, such and such does this though, and you'd be like, yeah. I kind of felt that one because you'd be like, I'm not their parent, I'm your parent. Example, like when we went to the party that one time, I remembered it. I remember begging that one day and just trying to go and stuff. And I was just like, well, ended up going anyway. But I still remember. And that kind of like gave me the flashback to that. I guess what I'm trying to say is it's like a whole bunch of stuff where I thought the parents were just mean in a sense. It's really the parents trying to look out for you.
About the whole, parenting your adult children being harder than going to war. I thought that was a little extreme at first. But when you think about it, you're trained for war. You go through training. You have weapons to assist you at war. But with parenting, especially if it's your first time or, something like that, you don't really know what to expect. And obviously you love your kids and you don't want anything to hurt your kids, and you don't want your kids to go through anything that's going to cause some unnecessary stress and harm to them. But I think, especially with adult children, you're still trying to guide them and assist them and parent them, but also at the same time, understand that they are adults, because we definitely know that we're adults and we feel like we're adults. So a lot of times when we're getting guided by parents, it's thought as like, oh, you're trying to tell me what to do, which isn't always the case. You're just trying to guide us and keep us from making some mistakes that could be easily avoided. But I think for parents, if you're going through that for the first time, it can be very difficult to see some of the mistakes or some of the choices that your kids are making, and knowing that, all you can really do is be there for them and sometimes be there to help them pick up the pieces at the end of the day. But I think that initial letting them make their choices, even if it's the wrong choice, or even if it's the choice that they're going to regret later, just letting them make that choice so they can find out for themselves, and then being there for them at the end of the day to help them after, the blowback from that choice is a big deal. So I definitely understood, that comparison to war, because, you don't really have any weapons or training per se when, you're going through this for the first time with your kids. Bree and I, we're 24, going to be 25 this year. You've never parented a 25-year-old. So that's a new thing for you. So, and it could be scary for us and also scary for the parents. But like I said, I think as long as the guidance comes off as well-intentioned and not so much as you have to do X, Y, Z because I said so, because I'm older than you, because I'm your father, then, I feel like kids in general or adult children in general would be more receptive to what their parents are trying to tell them and trying to warn them about.
Outstanding. Excellent.
Beautiful.
So that leaves you, Jalea.
Okay, so I agree with Braylon. Like what he was saying, I thought it was a little extreme when you compared it to war. But like what he said, you're trained for it. And he said that you have 4 adult children, right? Or 3, 4. And I had to consider that every child is different. We all have different personalities and different mindsets. So I can understand how it could be super hard because what one child might do, the other won't. And yeah, so short and sweet, I just thought it was very insightful and gave me a lot to think about. Well, I'm a young adult, I'm like new to this, but like watching my other siblings grow up, it gave me a lot to think about, if you know what I mean.
All right.
Well, yeah, and to like back on, well, to counter on what everyone else said, like how Braylon said, you guys had training, like you had training through everything. We have training when we have a new job. I can see how parenting an adult is hard because as we get older, we start to think for ourselves. JoJo is at a point to where if you tell him to do something, he's going to do it. You know, in our adolescence years, toddler, in our teenage years, it was kind of like, okay, we still kind of like, you know, abide by your rules. And so there was really not much of a rebuttal. You know how like the saying is, how people say like the newborn age is really the easiest stage because you just got to feed the baby, you got to put the baby to sleep, all other kind of stuff, and how the toddler age is the worst because that's when they're fighting themselves and that's when they try and get all buck wild. But it's kind of the same as adult. But at this point, we know what we have to do. We know the basics of life. Yet we're trying to maneuver our way through. So the consequences and disciplinary actions that worked for me did not work for Trey, will not work for Brittany. And I remember telling mom one day because Brittany wanted to do something, but she wouldn't let her because of my actions. And I was like, hey, we're two different people. We have two different mindsets. You can't treat one like the other. You gotta, and it's different because you have 5 kids. So you gotta learn how each of us are and learn how to, what word am I looking for? How to interact with each of us. You can't treat us all the same. You can't expect the same outcome with all of us. Like how me and Braylon went to school. Trey didn't want to go to school, yet he's still out here, you know, he's living on his own. He's doing fairly good for himself without doing what the other 2 kids did. You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying. So I want to piggyback on a couple of things that when you guys were talking, I was writing it down. One of the points of emphasis was I said it was adulting, or not adulting, but parenting an adult child is is harder than going to war. And when you think about it, you spend 8 weeks in basic training, and the only thing you hear is kill, kill, kill. You got to kill Charlie. They teach you how to march. They teach you how to shoot the gun. They teach you how to do everything. And this goes back to what Braylon was saying. You had the training to go over there and execute that thing. You knew what the man to your left and right were supposed to do. It was uniform. But just like what Brianna just said, you're all individuals. Yeah, you all came from the same place and you all had pretty much the same upbringing, but you're all individuals. And for me, that was one of the toughest things to wrap my head around. As you know, I only have one other brother that was in the household with me. So, and it was 11-year gap. So I wasn't like his brother. I was more like his dad. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I've been in almost parental role for almost all my life. So that is the thing that you have to wrap your head around as a parent, is that these are all individual people who have different ideas, who have different concepts, different understandings. We all learn different. We talk different. We have a different sense of style. And as a parent, it's like it can be overwhelming at times, especially when you have more than one. It can be overwhelming because Bree might have a problem, Braylon might have a problem, Trey might have a problem. I got 3 different problems with 3 different individuals that I got to work through. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes I was lazy. I just didn't want to come in. Let me talk to you, boy, individual. It'll be that blast message. You know what I'm saying? That y'all know what I'm talking about when when that one person mess up and then you get that blast message to let everybody know one more thing. And it's about to be Hurricane Katrina around here. Yep. You know what I'm saying? So I had to learn, to stop sending as many blast messages and deal with you guys individually, because at the end of the day, that's what you are. You're individuals. The second thing that I heard when you guys were talking is about allow you guys to experience life. That too is hard because we've experienced some things in life, and we're like, man, if I could prevent anybody from having to go through this, I'm gonna do my best. I've been involved with crazy women. I'm not gonna lie to you. I've been involved with crazy women, and if I can keep my boys from being involved with crazy women, I'm gonna tell you, man, that gal kind of looking crazy, boy. You might wanna look elsewhere. Or I've been a no good brother. I've been a no good guy to women, and when I can recognize a no good guy. So when I tell you he ain't sugar, I ain't telling you he ain't sugar because I don't think anybody's good enough for you, which I don't. I don't think anybody's good enough for you. That's just a sidebar. But when I tell you that he ain't about sugar, that's coming from a place of experience. I've experienced that. And if I can keep you from having heartbreak, that's what I was going to try to do. But I also understand that if you never experience heartbreak, you never truly appreciate having your heart overfilled with love for a person that's not in your family. So I had to learn that. And also, I did learn that I can't expect you to do what I tell you to do just because I told you to do it. I've got to be able to articulate the reason why. I think I made mention of it when you guys were, and not just you guys, but when kids are young, the only thing that they want is your affection and your attention. Oh, you did a good job. Oh, don't do that, baby. Okay, that's the normal response from a kid, right? But as you get older, don't do that. Why not? And I can't be the one to say, because I said so. Well, because I said so at this point in time is not a good answer. Because I said so, it's just, it's kind of blowing you off. It's invalidating your curiosity. That is a request for knowledge. And if I just say because I said so, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Then I'm gonna go do it.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy for me to think that you're not gonna go and try to figure it out, and it's crazy for me to just say because I said so. Because I said so is not an acceptable answer. So, Braylon, talk to me about I talked a little bit about success, and I talked about the path to success. Talk to me about some of your experiences growing up with me in regards to, I made mention I had my expectations for your success. And I had to learn that what I consider success may not be what you consider success. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. So I think there's a ton of different ways to define success, but from growing up with you and my interactions with you, success seemed like what's the word I'm looking for? It seemed you never really put any pressure on me to be any one thing or to do any one thing. You never really said you have to go to college, you have to get this job, you have to do X, Y, Z. But even though you never said any of that, it was still very, very clear that you expected. Right. It was implied, not even to go to college or do anything like that, but the expectation was to that once I am an adult and I'm grown, and I'm on my own, that I am able to take care of myself and take care of my responsibilities, and be basically self-sufficient. Not to say that I wouldn't ever be able to come to you for help or advice or anything like that, but it was very much, hey, I'm not going to be here to baby you, basically. So, you need to do what you can do to make sure that you are straight, to make sure that you are going to be able to take care of everything that you've got coming your way when, the time comes. So I I basically just had to take that and and run with it and interpret that in the way that I saw best. And to me, that was okay. Go to college, get a job, be able to take care of yourself, get a good paying job that allows you to do the things that you want to be able to do, and allows you to support yourself. But I mean, that was the way I interpreted that, and may not have been the way that other people interpreted it. Because, like I said before, there's different ways to define success. So that's just what I took the advice as and did what I did with it. So hope that answers the question.
It did. I really appreciate that, my man. Brittany, same question. What do you see success? How do you view success? And has there been negative or positive pressure put upon you by me as your dad to achieve the success that you think I want you to have? Or do you have your own ideal of what success is?
Well, basically what Braylon said, you didn't really force me to do anything or pressure me to do anything, but I think success is like you've accomplished your goals and you're doing what you always worked hard for. And I think I'm on a path of it, but it's just not narrow, if that makes sense.
Okay, so you're on a wide path. You're not on the narrow path like it says in the Bible. You're on that wide path. That's what you're telling me?
I mean, the reason why I said it's not narrow is because, like, I feel like it's not easy, like, considering where I am. Like, I want to go to college, but where I am right now, it's like, it's a little hard for me to do that, and other options might have to take place, and then university might be later on. But yeah, basically what Braylon said, you never really pressured me to do anything. And I remember you had to talk with me about school and stuff, and you were like, whatever you want to do, you could do it, but just make sure you take responsibility for things and you're doing what you need to do in order to get to where you want to be. So, yeah.
Outstanding. Brianna, give me a second. Make sure you're still here with us, ma'am. I think we lost connection. Are you there?
Okay, so if we're being honest, I feel like me and Trey got kind of like the hard end on it, where it was more of either you go to college, and if you don't go to college, then you're joining somebody's military. And it was almost as if you are not in college and if you're not joining somebody's military, then for a certain period of time, I will say that it was kind of looked at it as, well, then you aren't doing any. Then it was kind of looked at it as you're not doing anything with yourself. So I did feel the pressure to be successful. I did feel the pressure to, okay, I got to do good on my SAT, ACT, which I really wasn't studying for, but I had to meet your expectation of, okay, I really don't want to go to the military, so I need to make sure that I get in somebody's college, which I was somewhat in somebody's college, but I believe after you saw that, after like I paused at going to school because I'm gonna go back eventually, and I was still able to, take care of myself and still be successful, then that's when I believe the mindset changed, like with Brittany. Like, Brittany and JoJo are the smartest, and Braylon, but in the household, Brittany and JoJo have the brains. Me and Trey, you're welcome. Me and Trey really didn't have the brains, so that's probably why you were harder on me and Trey. So Brittany knows, like, the expectations, seeing it from me and Trey. So Brittany's going to have her ducks in a row.
Hold on one second. I totally disagree that you and Trey don't have the brains. I think you and Trey have the inability, well, not the inability, the want to prioritize what you need to take care of when you need to take care of it. You guys are horrible procrastinators. You guys,
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it again. You guys are horrible procrastinators, and you know what that makes? That makes for a
I just got dragged into it.
situation. That makes for a womp situation when you procrastinate. And as your dad, when I recognize that you're procrastinating, yes, I'm gonna turn up the pressure a little bit. All right, so what you gonna do? It's 12th grade. You ain't took an
Yeah.
ACT, you ain't took an SAT. Okay, if you don't want to go to school, tell me you don't want to go to school and let's find what you're good at. Let's find out what you're good at. Let's find out what you want to do. And I understand at certain times you really don't know what you want to do. So I presented you with options. It wasn't just the military that I was presenting you guys options with. Now, don't get up here and
That
lie
was
to
the
the
first
America
one.
and say that my dad was like, you gonna go to the military or you going to college. No, you could have got a
Am I wrong?
job. You could have got a job working at Burger King for all I care. But you're so much better than that. I wasn't gonna let you just take that and say, this is what I'm doing. If that makes any sense to you guys.
Yes.
All right. So go ahead and finish what else you were saying, dear.
What was I saying? Oh, but yeah, and still even being out of the house, I still have. It's not like a bad pressure. It's still a good pressure to where I know that I still have to succeed that expectation, because now what was your expectation for me to be successful? Like I want that for myself now. So it was no longer what seemed like, oh, Dad is just being so hard on us and everything. Now being an adult, it's kind of like, okay, well, I see why you're being so hard on us. I don't want to be, when you become an adult, you see that there's more money out there to be making. So you don't want to continue to settle. So then you start to realize for yourself, okay, I understand why Dad was being a little harder on me. I understand why he was pushing me to do these things, because now in the adult world, you want better for yourself. When if I wasn't procrastinating, or if I were to do what I was supposed to do in the beginning, then I could be a lot further than I am now.
Okay. All right. Mr. Trey, go ahead and answer that question.
I see success as 2 or 3 things. First, I say success is a want, because you can, if you want to win at something, you got to do whatever you got to do. I see success as in like losing sometimes too, because you can still be known, or you can still be victorious in that.
How do you define success? And do you see that, not do you see, but do you feel like my expectations of success was a pressure to you?
At times, yes. I did feel like it was that pressure for me, because it was like, okay, Trey, we already knew I didn't want to go to school. So it was like, hey, we about to go to the military then. I don't really want to do that. And in the process of me trying to figure out what I wanted to do, it was because I didn't know as of right there. And I still know, I know what I want to do. I just know it's going to have to take some time to be able to get there. But at the time, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And it was kind of pressuring, because it was like, well, you could do this, you could do this, you could do this. And it was something I didn't want to do. And at the time, I noticed that it was like, even though I didn't want to do it, it was like a good idea that would be able to help out. Yeah, I see it as, no, in order to be successful, you're going to have to make changes and stuff like that. They're not going to be cool changes. It's going to be changes that you don't like, or it's going to be attachments you're going to have to get rid of. I learned that. Another way how I've seen it through you is just like literally watching you. For example, this whole podcast area, this is so cool. It is like so dope. Even looking at the setup and everything like that. But before I even moved out the house, you were in the process of learning this stuff on the computer before you even got all this stuff. And the next thing you know, you got it. I think I came back one day and I was just like, oh, the room's painted. Okay, I come back another day. Oh, you got the tables up in here set up. Okay, all right. Now it's big computer. This very very look like very expensive products and stuff. Yeah, I know I had to take a whole bunch of stuff in order to be able to get that, and to me, that's like a pretty successful thing. Like even me sitting here right now, being able to talk in one of these expensive mics where I've only seen that KISD Career Center. I don't even see this in Guitar Center too. Like I know it took work to be able to get stuff like this, or I know it took work to be able to do this. I've seen the process too. Even though you're not done with this, like I was talking about, even with people, let's say, where success is supposed to be known, like championships and stuff like that. Russell Westbrook, other people that haven't won a ring. I mean, like, they're still in the Hall of Fame. They're pretty successful too. This right here is pretty successful. I know that, how I put it, you're not done with this. As you're on your road to success with this podcast, I can see that it's like, it's working for the better. I mean, like, I'm pretty sure you had some struggles within this, but it's still got it. You know what I'm saying? I think I don't know if I'm making sense with it. You get where I'm going with it, right?
Yeah, you're rambling a little bit, but I think I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. I didn't know if y'all was understanding what I was saying.
Okay. Brittany, what else from the episode 2 kind of drew your attention and caused you to think a little bit more than what you normally would have thought about the role of parent and the role of adult child?
Well, just to touch on it again, I didn't know that it was so hard because I thought, like, little kids are the hardest to take care of because that's when you're doing all your teaching and stuff. And I thought, like, this whole time I was thinking that when we're adults, then you officially let go and, like, whatever they do is their business. And especially because you have younger kids still living in the house with you, it's like, that's their business, and now I got to focus on these two. But I didn't know it was as hard as you described it in your podcast. And another thing that caught my attention was when you mentioned open conversations. And then I was riding on my way home from school, and I was like, open conversations really aren't that open. And then you said it, and I was like, whoa, he's aware? And I was like, so he knows. So that was pretty funny to me, and it was like a little shocking too. So, yeah. Yeah,
I think it's all of y'all, when y'all heard that part of it, open conversation, you know, I think I said it. I think I'm paraphrasing now, but I think I said, you think that you're having open communication with your child when you're actually not, because your child has either tuned you out or it's going in one ear and right out the other. And they're just saying exactly what they think you want them to hear, what they want to hear, so you can stop talking and they can go ahead and do what they was going to do. Did that resonate with anybody other than Jalea?
It definitely resonated with me because it would be more so like...
Say that again?
I said it definitely resonated with me because it definitely me more so like, okay, I'm asking a simple question. Why am I thinking of life lessons with this? So it just be like, okay.
Yeah, Mr. Funny Man, Mr. Funny Man.
Like, I know I'm not the only one. I've had talks with like other people too that be like that with their parents. They'd be like, look, man, I asked how I go here. Tell me why. They was just like, no, you go die if you do this. And be like, you know what I'm saying?
Okay. Brianna, are you there?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Did that resonate with you?
Yes, because honestly, once you say a phrase or a word that I don't agree with, or that's not the answer I was looking for, I'm gonna tune you out.
Yeah.
You just told me no. Dude. I'm done.
Yeah. How about you, Braylon?
Absolutely. I think for parents need to understand that every time your kid comes to you wanting to talk about something, no matter the severity of the topic, they're not always looking for a lesson. So I think parents will some parents will always find a way to turn something into a lesson and it comes off as nagging. But like, I just wanted to talk to you about how I had a rough day today at work or whatever. Not, you know, not what you would have done if you were in my position, not what you would have told my manager. I'm just looking to vent and talk. And, you know, I think once your child starts to realize that every time they want to have a conversation with you or interact with you, it's going to turn into a lesson, then the amount of times that the frequency in which I'm going to want to talk to you is going to dwindle down, because you're not always in the mood for a lesson. Like, there's a time for a lesson and there's a time to just be there and listen and be available, and just be present. But yeah, I think parents need to be mindful of that. Like, there's ways to go about doing things. If you know and you see that your child just had a rough day and they're just looking to vent and get some things off their chest, just let them do that. And, you know, if it's something that you want to turn into a lesson later, then sure, let's do that later. But right now, I'm tired. I feel like yelling. I feel like cussing. Let me do that.
Oh, yeah.
But I believe it's also it can be vice versa, because we talk about an open conversation, but sometimes the parent doesn't like what the young adult has to say.
Thank you.
And then because it's not, because we're speaking for ourselves or we're speaking up for ourselves, because it is, quote, an open conversation. So you got to hear both sides. But once the parent hears the side that they don't like, then that's when the lesson turns. That's when they turn into a lesson, or that's when okay, I'm done talking. I don't want to talk no more. But then it's but then it's kind of just like, okay, but I thought we were going to talk about it. So like, it can also be on the parent side too. Y'all can also tune us out and stop the conversation because you don't like what we say.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that, and I'll go ahead and admit it. I'm guilty of that, because sometimes you guys will come to me with stuff that in my mind, I'm like, this is stupid as hell. I don't even know why you even asking me about this, and then I just go on a tangent, and then I just see it in y'all eyes. It's like, that's not even what I was asking you for. So I was guilty of that. I was also guilty of minimizing what you were feeling. Because I remember all the time Braylon used to say something and I would be like, well, it could be worse. And he was just, one time his face was like, if I could slap the dog crap out of you, man, I would. Because that's not what I needed to hear. But at the time, I couldn't see that. But through the years of experience that we had since then, I don't say that to him. But I find him saying it to me. Because sometimes I vent to him, like, I just don't know, man. I'm trying to learn this software. And he's like, well, you know, it could be worse, Pop. You know, you could have had some second grade type equipment that you was having to learn. So I see the mistakes that I made now with you guys you guys, except for Brittany, you guys have all hit adulthood and you're there. So when you guys were hitting adulthood, I can see some of the mistakes that I made. And I see that I was big on life lessons, big on life lessons.
Dr. Life.
And so now I kind of sit back and I look and I watch, and I'm not so quick to say, no, you're not going to do this. I'll come back and say, no, just cancel what I just said and you can stay to 9. I think we just had that conversation this week.
I was surprised.
You wanted to go somewhere and you asked me, could you be back at home at 9? And I was like, nah, 8:30. And then I text you right back like 2 minutes later. I was like, no, 9. Because I think a lot of it, and Brianna, you chime in on this. I think a lot of, and Trey too, and Braylon, I think that you guys felt like I was just waiting on you guys to mess up sometimes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I have moments where I know you was waiting for me to mess up. Like,
Of course. I'm just kidding.
And so in parenthood, we call that giving you enough rope to hang yourself.
yep.
And it's not like I wanted to hang you. I mean, I didn't want to hang you. I wanted to be surprised that you would do the right thing, or that you wouldn't meet that expectation that I might have had for your behavior at that particular point in time. So I am definitely hindsight 2020. I'm seeing how I made those mistakes with you three particularly, and I'm trying not to repeat those mistakes with Brittany, and of course we got Mr. King Josiah coming up right behind her. So yeah, I thought that those are some very good points that you brought up, Brianna, about that open communication, not only being closed from parent to child, but also from child to parent. And also, Braylon, when you said that sometimes I just wanted to vent, but I didn't want no life lesson. And Trey, you also said the same thing. So I thought that was dope. I thought that was dope. So Brianna, talk to me about since we've all listened to episode 2 and we're having this discussion now. What do you think that you could do now to make parenting you as a young adult not so difficult?
Let's see what I can do. Ooh, that's a hard one. I really feel like now I have a good I've always had a good relationship with you guys, but as like an adult, I really do feel like now I'm at a point to where I can openly talk to you guys. Especially being married. That's so weird to me still. And coming to you not only for I wouldn't say parental guidance, still I'm not a parent, but life guidance. And I believe it'll also be easier to understand that I have a different walk from you guys, So some things that it's kind of like an agree to disagree, and that's okay. It's okay to come to you and we talk, and if we have to end the conversation with, okay, I'm going to agree with what you're saying, but I don't agree. But yes, I still agree with what you're saying. And it's vice versa. I feel like that can go a long way instead of, tuning each other out. I feel like this has helped us gain an understanding of both ends from parent and child, to where we should be able to communicate better with each other, whether you have to, rephrase things, whether you have to be a listener instead of a talker, and vice versa. So I do feel like this episode on my aspect will help me have better communication skills with my parents.
Okay. Outstanding. Brittany, you're up. Same question.
Okay. So in order, things I could do to make your job easier, or I worded that wrong, but what I wrote down was for us to listen to each other, for real listen. Because sometimes I think in a conversation, I could say something and then one of my parents could take it the wrong way, and then that's what leads to a lecture. Or they could say something and I not take it the right way, and then I tune them out. So listen, and a follow-up to that would be put each other in each other's shoes. So you mentioned earlier that you have a habit of was it belittling our situations? Minimizing. So I would say put yourself in our shoes. And, like I said earlier, I didn't know that parenting adults was hard. So I could put myself in your shoes. And I would like to add a larger curfew.
Bet you would like to add that. All right, Mr. Braylon, same question, sir.
I think it's important to remember that I think in every child's mind, whether they are a teenager or an adult, I think a lot of times we forget that our parents are humans, they're people. And it's not really something that you think about a lot, but as humans, they are bound to make mistakes. In a lot of kids' eyes, their parents is like this all-knowing, untouchable being, and that's not the case. So I think just remembering that, hey, my dad, my mom, they are human. They're going to make mistakes. They are going to tell me to do. Sometimes they're going to tell me to do things that um, I. They're going to tell me to do things that I would not have said for myself to do, because they think that that's the best. Like, they're telling you with good intentions. They think that's the best option for you. Um, but it just, certain things may not pan out the way that you want it to, because of the fact that they have not been in your shoes. So, however much older you are than me, when you were growing up and when you were 24, a lot of the stuff that I'm going through and that Brianna are going through, and also Trey, a lot of stuff that we're going through, you didn't experience. So sometimes we might get advice to some of these problems that you haven't been through, some of these things that you haven't faced, um, that the advice might sound good to you, but in reality, it might not be the best course of action, if that makes sense. So I just think keeping in mind, like, yes, go to your parents for advice. Yes, listen to what they say. Have that open communication, but at the end of the day, you have to be able to make those decisions for yourself. You have to be able to, take all the knowledge that you have, all the advice that you got from your parents, and make those big important decisions for yourself, because it would be, and I'm sure people have been in a situation where they rely so much on their parents that they end up just doing everything that their parents say. And then what happens? They become unhappy with the way things have panned out. They don't like how some of their choices, where some of their choices have led them, and they're unhappy. So I think, as far as making parenting easier, just keep in mind that your parents are human, and when they say things to you that kind of rub you the wrong way, or if they do things to you that kind of rub you the wrong way, don't hang on to it, I guess, if that makes sense, because they're human and they're going to make mistakes, and you have to realize that what they're telling you and everything, all the advice that they're giving you, is coming from a good place, but they haven't lived through what we're living through currently. So I I I just think that would be, something to keep in mind in order to make parenting easier, because you're not always going to like what your parents tell you. Everything that your parents tell you is not going to make sense, and if you try to, you know, get them to see things your way about something that they don't have any experience in, something that they didn't grow up with. I'm trying to think of an issue that we're going through right now. I don't know, living through a pandemic, and trying to go to school virtually and trying to work from home, and struggling with your social life because you can't you're stuck at the house all the time, and you're worried about getting sick and all this other stuff. Your parents haven't lived through that before. Like, they're going through it right now the first time with you. So, sometimes you're just going to have to make decisions for yourself, and hope for the best. But just keep in mind that your parents are not, they're not free from error. And because it's going to happen when you find out that your parents made an error, or they told you something that was a little less than ideal, don't hold it against them. You know what I mean? So keep in mind, give them a little bit of grace, because you would hope that they would give you some grace when you make an error too. So give your parents a little bit of grace, and just keep moving forward from there. Don't let things that they've told you hang over your head and hurt a relationship. And I think that could really go a long way in making parenting a little bit easier from the child to the parent. Because I'm sure there are many kids and young adults and adults that are still holding on to things that went down with their parents that that they just can't let go of, and it is damaging their relationship, and it's not really a cool thing to watch, and it's really not a cool thing to be a part of as well. So that would be my advice or my answer to that question.
Okay, excellent. And I'm glad you gave that example of how to live through a pandemic, go to work, be social, and all that good stuff. Because I was going to ask you a follow-up question in regards to things that your parents might not necessarily have gone through. And I'm glad you came with that illustration. I really appreciate that. Trey, you're up.
Okie dokie. Kind of had a brain let, whatever they call it. What was the question again? One more time.
What could you do now that you've listened to episode 2 and we've had this conversation to make parenting you less difficult?
Gotcha. Back. One thing I would definitely say is, not only. No, I would say to try and put yourself in their shoes. Even though I am not a parent, I've known you guys for 20 years. So I would say there's certain things where I could be like, okay, I'll put myself in my shoes. And not or I could say for advice for some people, when you do go to ask something, don't expect the answer you're looking for. Just expect that, like, if it's a question for advice, be willing to listen. You really can't tell anybody anything if they're not really willing to listen. And what I would say is, because I do catch myself saying this to like mom a lot. I don't necessarily say this to you, but put yourself in our shoes, but not only put us in our shoes. It's like, I'm pretty sure you've been at a point where you've known like this, you know how this feels. I'm not saying just because you feel like you know how this feels, that just means say yes. I know, because I be feeling like sometimes there was moments where y'all just saying no, or I don't know. It just felt like y'all was just like mad, or but how do I put it? I remember how it was when we were like, when you were this age, like we're coming like looking for answers for you, because that's the way I would see it. I'd be like, well, you were at this age before, and you know how this feels. And
okay, so put ourselves in your shoes and try to have some empathy for what you are experiencing. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yeah.
All right. Too easy. Got it. So let's get closed out with the final question. And that final question is, what advice would you give yourself now? If we had a time capsule, right? Y'all know what time capsules are, right? Just shake your head. Yeah. Okay. If you had a time capsule and you could put anything in that time capsule regarding episode 2 of the Essential Discourse podcast show and our conversation tonight, what would that be? If you had a time capsule, if you could put anything in that time capsule related to parenting adult children, the episode and our conversation with each other tonight to help you in the future, what would that be? And let's go to Brianna and see what she would put in that time capsule.
Effective communication.
Effective communication, is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay.
Effective communication.
Okay, effective communication. Braylon?
You can go a long way.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you had something else to say. Go ahead, ma'am.
Oh no, I was just saying you can go a long way as when there is an understanding on both sides. That's what. So as long as you have effective communication, that's kind of like the basics of a relationship, with your significant other. But if you can have effective communication with your parent, then I just feel like that's the main thing that you need. There's love and then there's effective communication. Because if you understand me and I understand you, then we Gucci.
Not Gucci.
Good.
Okay. All right.
Sorry.
All right.
Yeah, my lingo.
Okay. Braylon.
Yeah, I was gonna say genuine, open communication, but in addition to that, I think modeling is is important as well. And when I say modeling, I mean, if you're a parent, model what you want your kids to, how you want your kids to behave, how you want your kids, like, how you want them to react and respond to things in their environment. I think a lot of what we do as kids is learned from our parents, and it doesn't even have to be the parent saying something or sitting you down and saying, okay, here's XYZ. I think a lot of stuff that kids learn from their parents is just stuff that the parent is doing, stuff that the kid sees the parent doing that the parent may not even be aware of. And that could be, how is the parent in relationships? How does the parent communicate to other people? How does this parent build relationships with other people? How do they interact with other people? How ambitious is the parent? Things like that. So I think keeping that in mind and modeling what you want your kids to do and respond, how you want them to respond and how you want them to act and how you want them to think and things like that. You have to be that, right? I'm watching a show right now on Hulu, trying to catch up, and it's called Snowfall. And I'm not going to do any spoilers or anything like that, but the environment that these young adults, probably around my age, the environment that they're in is not great. And they're really only doing what they see the adults doing. So, if I wonder if they would have never saw the adults, getting into these odd situations, doing these illegal things in order to survive, then a lot of these young adults and these kids probably wouldn't be in some of the situations that they are. And I don't think it just relates to a TV show. I think it's like real life as well. There are some kids who see the adults in their lives doing things that they should not be doing, and then the kids turn around and do the same thing. So if I were to put anything into a time capsule, it would be a little note that says, be the model for your kids that you want them to eventually turn into.
Okay, be the adult that you want your child to grow into. Got it. Trey, if you could put anything in a time capsule that would help you along the way into your role as a parent, what would it be?
To remember that parents make mistakes. It's not cool knowing that your parent make mistakes because you go asking them for stuff. Me personally, I don't want to ask anybody who makes mistakes on a lot of things. But I'm not saying y'all do. Y'all don't. Don't get me wrong with that. I'm not saying you do. But I have to remember you guys are also human too, just as me. Because when I say that, normally when people, or not normally, some people when they think of their parents, it's like, oh, they always tell me no, they always tell me this. But there's more so a reason behind it. So I have to understand or try and get the reason down or try to understand that everything is not going to go your way. Even though it doesn't, they still love you. You're still good.
Okay, so what I hear you saying is that just remember that you're not going to be perfect. No one's perfect. You're not a perfect individual now, and you're not going to be a perfect parent. So just try to be the best that you can be. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yeah.
All right, Miss Brittany, time capsule. Put something in a time capsule that would help you be a better parent and not make parenting so difficult when you become a parent.
Okay, so basically what Trey said, remember that my parents aren't perfect. Nobody's perfect, so I'm not going to be perfect. And what Bree said, like effective communication, I like communication. And along with communication, always make sure that you're a safe place for your kids. Because I know that there's times, or let's just be real, even now as an 18-year-old, there's many times where I feel like I can't really go to my mom about this because I know that she's going to say this or react like this. Or I know that I can't simply just talk to my dad about this because A, B, and C. So effective communication and always try to be a safe place. And like what Braylon said, be a model. And nobody mentioned this, but prayer, because the way that you're describing adults, raising adults, it seems very hard. And I know that even raising little kids can be hard, so prayer.
Okay, so you said two interesting things right there. Safe place, and we know prayer is always in order. Safe place. And you said that there's things in your mind that you don't think that you can talk to your mother or myself about. And I'm wondering why. I'm wondering, just why. Why do you feel like there are certain things you can't talk to us about?
Well, because there have been times where, like, I try to talk to mom about something, and then she's automatically in mama mode. Like, it's just like her body language, her facial expressions, the responses that she gives me, it's kind of like not received so well, and I feel like I'm on defense, if that makes sense. And like with you, you're pretty chill, but sometimes there are those moments where you're like,
I'm glad I'm pretty chill.
Well, yeah, but there's still some moments where it's like dad mode, and your body language, your facial expressions, the reaction to things that I say, or the responses is not received so well. It's kind of like what I said before, like with mom, defense mode, and it's like, don't really feel comfortable. But yeah, as I get older, it's kind of getting easier.
Okay. And I'm turning all you guys on right now. Turning every last one of you on. Okay. So in response to what Jalea just said, a safe place, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think that when you guys come to me with difficult things for you, I tend to ask you, well, why do you think that? Or, so what are you going to do? Or, an open-ended question like that. That's what I think I do more often. Unless it's just foolishness. Now, if it's foolishness, I'm going to tell you it's foolishness. But I think that I come to you guys with open-ended questions, trying to get you guys to walk yourself through the process of figuring out what step you need to take. Is that
challenging our thinking?
Yeah, is that not true? Or am I correct on that?
You're correct.
Okay. So I don't ever want any one of you guys to think that, your mother and I aren't a safe place for you. Even though we might look at you like, I know you, that didn't just come out your mouth, or what in the world is this joker, this gal talking about? Even though our facial expressions and our body defense, and yes, we're a mother and we're a father. We're gonna go in mother and father mode from time to time, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's not a safe place.
You don't do it a lot, though.
I just want to reaffirm and encourage you that you can always come and talk to us. Now, you might not get the answer that you always want, but that's part of just being truthful with you from my perspective. Now, I'm never going to intentionally tell you anything wrong. I'm never going to intentionally tell you anything that's going to cause you pain. However, what I may say to you might hurt your feelings, but it's not coming from a place of hate. It's not coming from a place of rage. Not anymore. Because when y'all was younger, boy, y'all used to take me there. But it's not coming from a place of rage. It's not coming from a place of just wanting to just hurt your feelings. No, it's not coming from that place. It's coming from a place of, okay, all right, put your big boy pants on, put your big girl pants on. Let's get it together. What do you think you need to do? And your mother taught me this. Your mother taught me this when she used to come home. Well, she still comes home. She comes home. She tells me about her day at that job. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Y'all know I don't care about her day. Y'all know I don't. Am I right? Yeah, everybody know I don't care about her day at that job. I don't care.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Oh, May Day. Oh my God.
So the thing is because and there's a couple of times when she would tell me something that would concern me because it's my wife and I don't want anybody taking advantage of her. And I would go into, okay, man mode. Let's solve this. You need to do this, and this. Make it happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what she wanted. She just wanted a place to vent. And it took her telling me that for me to say, okay, I'm going to listen. So I listen. And by her being able to talk to me and me listening, she walks herself through the process of what she, not what I think she needs to do, but what she determines she needs to do to correct whatever's going on. So I want you guys to take that with you from this. You know, it's okay to have somebody to talk to, have somebody to listen to you, but you need to let them know, look, I don't need you to work this out. I don't need you to work this out for me. I just need you to listen. Kind of like what Braylon was saying earlier. I need you to listen. I need to vent. And don't take questions, follow-up questions such as, okay, so what are you going to do? Okay, so how are you going to fix this? Don't take that as, you know, me asking you to give me an answer. It's helping you to walk through the mental gymnastic process of finding a solution to whatever the problem is. All right? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Hey, man, I really want to thank you guys for coming on, and we're doing a recap of episode 2 of the Essential Discourse podcast. I want to thank you. I appreciate you guys. I love each and every one of you. I do. I really do. I love you guys. Yeah, my babies. I love my babies. You guys drive me crazy sometimes, but I love my babies. I do. I do love my babies. So, Fort Worth, Dallas, Texas. Thank you, sir. Killeen, Texas. Thank you, sir, ma'am. Savannah, Macon, Abilene,
Pooler.
wherever it is, Pooler, Georgia, not Georgia,
Lord.
Georgia. Thank you.
Georgia.
Thank y'all for joining us. Thank you for listening to your dad's show and encouraging him to continue to go on. Be sure to tell somebody about it. Tell people you're going to be on a podcast, and let's get these numbers up. Let's get more people talking, having real discussions like we're having right now. Yes, sir.
Okay, so about the last question, I have one more thing, or whatever it is. So you know how you were saying, what is it that we could do, like put in a time capsule or whatever it is? Another thing I wanted to say was, I kind of forgot it, but it's like, understand that you got to recognize who you're talking to. There's just some people that's like, for me, for instance, there's some things I could talk to you about that I can't talk to mom about. There's some things I could talk to mom about that I can't talk to you about, type stuff. So, you know, there's some things like, how do I explain it? Like, for example, like there's been moments where I've ended up having to call you and be like, well, this did happen, all this other stuff, this. So don't be surprised when you come home or anything like that. I mean, like, come on now, we both know our mom. We know our mom. There's just certain things that where I could talk to you without it ending up going this way or type. So I would say, like, one more thing. The one thing I would do is, like, you got to understand who else you're talking to. Because I forgot to put that in there. And I didn't want that to go amiss. But yeah.
All right. Understand who you're talking to and their tendencies, their personality. Yeah, that all makes perfect sense, because I wouldn't go and talk to Braylon and say, man, we got to go hurt somebody. Because Braylon going to look at me and be like, we who?
Exactly. That's the first thing that came in my head.
Yeah, we who? We who? Who is we?
That's me and Trey's job.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And, you know, Brianna talk a good game, but she ain't trying to hurt nobody.
Facts.
I ain't gonna do nothing.
Not nothing. So
You're right.
we do have to realize who we're talking to and what we are asking out of people. That goes along with knowing who we're talking to. You got to know what their capacity is to help you in certain situations. Yep. So again, guys, with all my heart, I love you guys.
I love you, Daddy.
Do the roar.
Love you, Daddy.
I love you guys. And thank you for being here on episode 3 of the Essential Discourse podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I look forward to talking to you guys on an individual basis in the future going forward with this.
I feel like a celebrity.
All right. So with that
Breezy out.
With that said, man, y'all have a great night. I love you guys.
All right.
All
I'll
right.
follow you on Instagram. Detroit.
Bitches. Bye bye.
Detroit.
All right.
I've had a blast chopping it up with you today. Do me a solid. Subscribe to the EDP wherever you get your podcast. Visit our website at www.edpshow.com. Leave us your feedback, fill out our contact list, and feel free to browse around. Review our podcast and our content. And finally, plug us into your friends so that we can all be friends. Thank you. This is Bruce from the Essential Discourse Podcast Show.
That boy is good. Good and terrible.